We were sitting in the back of our workshop, sharing a lukewarm pizza, when Vespera promised me we'd be millionaires by Christmas. My hands were stained with silver polish, and my back ached from 10 hours at the jeweler's bench, but I believed her. We had been best friends since we were penniless students. She was the sister I chose. I handled the deposit for the Sapphire Order Solars, she said, scrolling through her phone. You just focus on the setting. Let me worry about the books. I trusted her. That was my first crime. The second happened 2 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning that felt completely normal until the bells at the shop door rang. It wasn't a client. It was 2 detectives and a forensic auditor. I looked at Vespera, waiting for her to explain, but she was already backing away, her face twisting into a mask of rehearsed shock. I found them, officers, she whispered, her voice trembling. Under the floorboards in her workstation. I didn't want to believe it. I thought we were partners. The detective reached into the space where I kept my design sketches and pulled out a velvet pouch filled with $200,000 worth of loose, uncut diamonds. My heart stopped. Beside them was a ledger, in my handwriting, detailing sales to a black market buyer I'd never heard of. In 30 seconds, the woman who had helped me pick out my engagement ring turned a decade of sweat and dreams into a criminal record. She didn't just plant the stones. She had spent months forging my signature on every theft. As they led me out in my work apron, past the cameras Vespera had secretly called, I realized she didn't just want the business. She wanted me buried so deep I'd never see the sun again. Being out on bail in a town like Savannah feels like walking through a freezer. The humidity was thick, but the people were ice. Within 48 hours, Vespera had executed a surgical strike on my life. I went to the shop to collect my personal tools, only to find the locks changed and a new management sign hanging where our joint logo used to be. My face was on the local news, framed by a headline that called me the Diamond Deceiver. The calls started next. Not from friends checking in, but from clients demanding refunds for work I'd already finished. Vespera had told them all the same lie, that I had been swapping their family heirlooms for high-grade glass to fund a secret gambling habit. I watched from the sidewalk as our shared sisters walked into the shop with flowers for Vespera, praising her for her bravery in the face of my betrayal. I was the monster. She was the survivor. By Friday, my landlord handed me an eviction notice. Bad for the building's reputation, he muttered, not meeting my eyes. I was forced to move into a rotting studio near the shipyards, a place where the walls sweated and the floor groaned. I sat on a milk crate, my hands still smelling of the silver polish from a life I no longer owned. Vespera had stripped me of my business, my home, and my dignity. She thought she'd left me with nothing. She forgot she'd left me with the one thing she never bothered to learn: the technical backdoor to our digital inventory system. If you've ever had a friend steal your credit, hit that like button and subscribe to see Solars fight back. Rocket Bell. Vespera always hated the technical side of the business. She called it clunky. She preferred the glamour of the showroom, the clinking of champagne flutes, and the adoration of the clients. Because of that, she never realized that the old shop tablet she used to forge my ledger was still synced to my personal cloud. In her arrogance, she hadn't even changed the admin password, the date of our first workshop opening. I sat in the dark of my shipyard studio, the blue light of my laptop reflecting in my eyes. I wasn't looking at social media. I was looking at the ghost in the machine. I watched in real time as Vespera logged into a private offshore account from the shop's IP address. She wasn't just running the business. She was moving the stolen diamonds she'd framed me for. She hadn't sold them yet. She was waiting for the heat to die down so she could sell them as part of her new solo collection. Then I saw it, a folder titled Internal Audit. Inside were the original, unforged spreadsheets. She hadn't deleted them, she had just moved them to a hidden directory. My hands shook as I realized I had the receipts that could clear my name, but a digital file wasn't enough for Savannah society. They needed a public execution, just like the one she gave me. I began to plant my own seeds. I leaked a tip to a high-end broker Vespera was courting about a rare, conflict-free canary diamond I knew she couldn't resist trying to flip. The trap was set. Vespera bit the bait within 3 hours. She was desperate to prove she could maintain the gold standard without me, and the prospect of a 6-figure commission on a canary diamond was too much for her ego to ignore. She reached out to the broker, who was actually an old contact of my father's, and arranged a private viewing at the shop after hours. She didn't know that I was already inside the building, tucked away in the crawl space above the vault I had helped design. I watched through the vent as she opened the safe. There they were, the $200,000 in loose diamonds she told the police I had stolen. They were sitting in a velvet tray, glowing like tiny, mocking stars. Vespera laughed to herself, a cold, sharp sound that echoed off the marble floors. She started packing them into a travel case, ready to move them to a secure location before her big rebirth gala the following night. I didn't move, I didn't breathe. I waited until she stepped away to answer a phone call, likely from my ex-fiancé, judging by the sickeningly sweet tone of her voice. In those 60 seconds, I lowered a magnetic tether I'd rigged. I didn't take the diamonds. I did something better. I swapped the 3 largest stones for identical synthetics I had laser-etched with a microscopic serial number, property of SOLARES. If she tried to sell them, or even show them to an expert, the stones themselves would testify against her. The hunter was about to become the evidence. The Vespera Solo launch party was the event of the season. The shop was filled with the same people who had spat on my name just weeks ago. Vespera stood on a small stage, draped in a gown that cost more than my shipyard lease, holding a microphone. "Tonight isn't just about jewelry," she told the crowd, her eyes shining with fake humility. "It's about integrity. It's about surviving the betrayal of those we trust most." I didn't walk through the front door. I stayed in the shadows of the alleyway, my finger hovering over the live button on the shop's Instagram account, which still had 50,000 loyal followers. When she began her big reveal of the new collection, I hit enter. But I didn't broadcast the party. I broadcast the security footage I'd recorded from the vault, the footage of her laughing as she moved the stolen diamonds into her private bag. Every phone in the room buzzed at once. The ping of the notification was like a synchronized heartbeat. I watched through the window as the smiles in the room froze. Vespera didn't see it yet, she was too busy basking in the applause. But then the lead detective, the same one who had arrested me, stepped out of the crowd. He wasn't there for the champagne. He held up his phone, showing the live feed of her betrayal to the entire room. The Queen of Savannah turned a ghostly white. The glass foundation was finally starting to shatter. The police didn't have to look far for the evidence. The canary diamonds Vespera was proudly wearing as her centerpiece were the very ones I had laser-etched. As the forensic jeweler on site scanned the stones under a loupe, his face went grim. "These aren't just stolen," he announced over the hushed crowd. "They're marked." Vespera was led out of her own gala in handcuffs, her couture dress dragging on the floor she had stolen from me. The aftermath was a whirlwind of apology, flowers, and emails from the same people who had blacklisted me. My ex-fiancé tried to call. I blocked him before the second ring. Savannah wanted to give me my old life back, but I realized I didn't want it. That life was built on the approval of people who couldn't tell the difference between a diamond and a lie. I settled the civil suit against Vespera, taking every cent she had left, including the shop. I didn't reopen as Solars and Vespera. I stripped the marble, sold the velvet furniture, and turned the space into the Workbench, a cooperative for artisan jewelers who had been pushed out by big names. I move through the city now with a quiet power that fame never gave me. Vespera is currently serving 4 years for grand larceny and fraud, her brand now nothing more than a cautionary tale in the local papers. I still live near the shipyards, but in a penthouse I bought with the ruins of her ego. I've learned that a reputation can be stolen, but a craft belongs to you forever.